Well, the campaign for the abolishing of cruel sports has issued a statement saying that they find it deeply disturbing to discover that Island Eddy, which is a small island located at the eastern end of Galway Bay, continues to be targeted by a hare coursing club. They say that they believe that this idyllic haven of tranquility was encroached upon earlier this year by those involved in what they describe as the barbaric practice of live hare coursing. Now, in the past, a coursing club has netted hares on the island, but according to the campaign for the abolishment of cruel sports, they understand that the club in question had ceased its incursions on Island Eddy and had not taken any hares from there since. However, a report filed by rangers of the National Park and Wildlife Service, which has just been released under Freedom of Information, has revealed that 16 hares were conveyed to Island Eddy on the 8th of November last year following the Galway and Oranmore coursing meeting. Well, I'm joined on the line to talk, I suppose, generally about hare coursing generally, and also this particular incident by the PRO of the campaign for the abolition of cruel sports. The PRO is John Fitzgerald. He joins me now. John, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Nice to talk to you. Let's talk about Island Eddy first. I have to say, personally, I hadn't heard of this little small island located off Galway Bay. When did you first realise that this particular stuff was happening?
Well, it was, I think, 4 years ago. There was an issue about the island. You see, what happened, basically, what I understand is that in recent years, Galway and Oranmore Coursing Club has used hares, well, from a number of hares captured in the countryside generally, but some of them apparently came from Island Eddy. And another report filed by the National Parks and Wildlife Service and also obtained under FOI revealed that in November 2009, 12 hares were taken from the island and used at the Galway and Oranmore coursing event, which took place at Lochray in the same month. And now we don't know exactly how those particular hares fared at the coursing event, but a number of hares were injured and mauled at that particular coursing event. Now, after the event, the hares, you see, the situation is that at the end of each coursing event, the coursing club is supposed to return the hares to where they were captured. You know, that is, hares that haven't been injured in any way. In 2009, the hares were not returned to Island Eddy because of stormy seas, and, you know, the people couldn't go out in the boats, they said, and bring them back, which is, I suppose, you know, it's understandable. But you see, what we object to is this whole business of encroaching on this particular island and just taking the hares under any circumstances, because there's a small hare population on the island, and it's not known just how strong that hare population is. And, you know, and we consider it unacceptable that people are free to kind of just go out in their boats and take hares whenever they feel like it, you know, but especially for use in a hare coursing event where hares are set up literally as live bait for greyhounds, forced to run in front of the greyhounds, and some make it to safety, some don't, but it's sort of a Russian roulette situation.
Yeah, clarify for me, is hare coursing now banned in the UK?
It is indeed banned in the UK, and more recently it was banned in Northern Ireland. It was banned first in Scotland, and then shortly after in England and Wales, and in 2011 a law came into force in the north banning it up there in the 6 counties in the north. So what is different, John, about the hares in the Republic to those in the north? Well, the hares in the north simply cannot be coursed at all. There is no hare coursing permitted up there since 2011. Now, since 1993, greyhounds at hare coursing events here are muzzled, and the idea is that muzzling would eliminate cruelty from hare coursing, but unfortunately the cruelty continued, because what you have is the greyhounds can't tear the hares apart in the tug-of-war-like situation that you had prior to 1993, but they do strike them and maul them, and you have hares being tossed about and dying from internal injuries, which is just every bit as bad as what you had pre-muzzling. And what we're kind of pressing for as part of our campaign is that you could have what's known as drag coursing. Now, in countries that like Australia, New Zealand and Britain itself and Italy and Germany and various other countries that actually banned live hare coursing, it was replaced by this drag coursing, which really involves just having a mechanical lure instead of a real hare, and the dogs chase this mechanical lure, and it replicates all the fun and the excitement and the camaraderie and all of hare coursing, but without the use of live hares. So that's what we're pressing for, a sort of a cruelty-free alternative to live hare coursing.
Yeah, and in the UK and Northern Ireland, John, there's no hare coursing of any nature at all now, is there?
Well, you might now and again hear of illegal hare coursing,
yes,
in the same way that you might hear of illegal cockfights and things like that. But what they do have, again, they have this drag coursing in which it looks very, very similar to hare coursing, except that live hares aren't used, and everybody comes away happy from it, and the trophies are presented, and you have all the betting, and you have all the celebration afterwards, but you don't have the live lure, and maybe, hopefully, that's what we will have here. And we've actually, apart from campaigning for a ban on hare coursing and lobbying politicians, we've appealed now and again to the coursing clubs directly to switch to drag coursing for the sake of the hare population, and I suppose for the sake of their own image as well, that the image of coursing, let's say, would be boosted if you could take the hare out of it. It's a bit like, just as the gun was taken out of Irish politics, we want to take the hare out of coursing, I suppose, if you could put it like that.
It's a good analogy. What about our government? I mean, I know you've done a lot of heavy lobbying on the government to try and have hare coursing completely banned in this country. Are you getting anywhere?
Well, there are people in all the parties, TDs and senators in all parties who support a ban on coursing, but there are also TDs and senators and, the main parties who strongly support hare coursing, in particular in Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil. Now, Labour is broadly supportive, and, many of the independents, such as Claire Daly and Maureen O'Sullivan and Richard Boyd Barrett, people like that, are very strongly opposed. But then you have people like Minister Phil Hogan and very powerful people in the political establishment, resist all calls for a ban.
Yeah, but surely one politician, irrespective of who he or she is, won't dictate if the policy of the party that should have to be followed the same way as the party
exactly.
whip. So if there isn't an ethos within a political party to ban coursing, then you're basically paddling against a very strong current.
Well, certainly it is indeed. We think that the tide has been turning in our favour over the years, but slowly. I mean, every opinion poll since the mid-1970s conducted on hare coursing has revealed that a fairly substantial majority of people say it should be banned. But the minority that are involved in coursing are deeply committed to it, So there you have, coursing clubs they're spread throughout the country, and various camps, mainly in Munster. Not so much. The further north you go, the thinner they become on the ground, but they're stronger in places like Kerry, Cork,
Limerick, that area.
Limerick as well. And now, like we're talking about Galway earlier, and Galway and Doranmore Coursing Club, as far as I'm aware, there are only two enclosed coursing clubs in County Galway. That means coursing clubs that have enclosed coursing, which takes place in a wired-off field, as distinct from the ancient form where people just went into the hills with dogs and all that, which wasn't really an organised coursing event at all, and the hare might escape and all that.
But anyway, the word today is you want hands-off island, Eddy, this small island.
Not only that, but other islands as well. You see, coursing clubs, a licence is issued every autumn permitting coursing clubs to net hares, to capture them for the coursing events. And they're netted in all kinds of places, in fields and mountainsides and all, but also in offshore islands that have small hare populations. And it's just, from a conservation point of view, there's a big question mark over that as well.
Yeah, but the fact, John, sorry for cutting over you there, but the fact that these people are going to these islands to get hares, does that not suggest that the population on the main islands is decreasing?
Well, it does. It's difficult to find hares in certain areas. Now, the coursing clubs claim that in areas where there is coursing, there are more hares, but that's only because they have gathered them for the coursing events, and obviously there would be more hares in those areas, but some coursing clubs find it very difficult, and the reports issued by the National Parks and Wildlife Service from time to time refer to coursing clubs finding it difficult to capture hares, so that seems to be the situation, So from a conservation point of view, as well as from an animal welfare point of view, hare coursing, just can't be sustained for very much longer in this country.
Okay.
We think the sooner it's replaced by drag coursing and that the live animal is taken out of coursing, the better.
Okay, well, that's the point well made. John, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you very much.
All the best. That's John Fitzgerald there, PRO of the campaign for the abolishing of cruel sports in this country, and in particular the disturbing findings that Island Eddy, that small island on the east end of Galway Bay, is being targeted by hare coursing clubs to extract the small number of hare population left on the island. And it is, by the way, an uninhabited island and has been since the 1980s. But certainly they're very keen to make sure that the small population of hares on that island remains. That was John Fitzgerald joining us on the programme.